Once upon a time there was this little girl. She's now a big girl. Lives in New York City. 200 square foot apartment with a dog. And she loved horses like lots of little girls do. Had My Little Ponies, Breyer horses, that kind of thing. And went off to summer camp. Still a little girl. And in the summer camp, they had horseback riding. Well, she kept going to this summer camp, got more and more interested in horseback riding, came back with pictures drawn of horses, and took the special horseback riding course, did real good in it. And so she decided she would take horseback riding lessons during the school year. By now the little girl was in middle school. Found a place that had Arabian horses and an instructor. Started taking lessons there. Now I said at the time, it's fine with me if you take horseback riding lessons, but we're not getting a horse. It wasn't long after that I got a call from my wife, her mother, and her saying, we got a horse, and it's being trailered over to the barn, this Arabian barn. That's what you call a place with bunches of horses. And that is the little girl's grandpa bought the horse. So that starts us off boarding at a barn, an Arabian barn, with this beautiful little black Arabian mare named Aida. Then we moved to another Arabian barn and ran into some folks that had a string of horses that had just had to come up from another place they'd been boarded because of a tragedy that occurred there. The lady that owned the place was actually attacked and killed by pit bulls. That meant the woman who owned all these horses that was boarding her had to move them. Well, among that crew was a big old quarter horse named Big Head. His real name was Try a Silver Bullet. We call him Big Head. And the lady really needed some help with paying for the board at this new place. And so my wife, bless her, without me knowing, leased Big Head for me so he could be a companion to Aida the Arabian at his Arabian barn. Well, it wasn't too long after that it was decided by my wife and daughter that we should probably have our own place. You know, not board somewhere, but have your horse in your backyard, which is the dream of a lot of horse people. And one thing led to another. Next thing you know, we're here at the Flying W, as we call it. Moved out of the city, moved our horses out of that boarding place, and Aida, a little black Arabian, and Big Head ended up here living at the Flying W. What you're seeing here is Brookie wanting to stop riding and just get unsaddled and go hang out with Norman. So you gotta kind of make sure that she thinks if she trots a little bit, and I get the fun of trotting, that I'll let her finish up her ride. So we ended up here at the Flying W. That little girl was now in high school. She finished up high school. Big Head and Aida lived here together, best of pals. We rode a bunch here on our little place. And then the little girl moved off to college in New York. Well, Aida and Big Head are still here, of course. It wasn't long after that we lost Aida. And that's a tough thing for those of you who have horses and have lost a horse. It's really hard to describe. Not only how hard it is, but how different it is from any other kind of loss you may have suffered in life. Well, horses don't like to be alone. So Big Head, who was in mourning for the loss of his little Arabian pal. Big Head was a big quarter horse, by the way, not just his head. We didn't want him to be alone. And it turned out some friends of ours who, like the same people we got Big Head from originally, had this little paint who'd sort of come back after the people who bought her couldn't afford to keep her. And that little paint, I'm writing right now, named Brookie, happened to have been, okay, Brookie, we need to pay attention to what we're doing, because you're not doing it. There you go. Happened to have been born right across the stall from Big Head when we were at that second Arabian barn. So he actually literally saw her be born. One of the mares in that string of horses that had come up there. So we ended up with Brookie, sort of at a bargain basement price, because she'd been sent back from those other folks. And here she showed up. She'd been out in pasture in the cold and the snow. She got here, she was so hairy that our neighbors thought we'd adopted an alpaca or a llama. She was unbroke, green. You could maybe put a halter on her. But then she and Big Head became thick as thieves, the two of them, the best of pals. They were both so happy with each other. And then one day, we lost Big Head, my quarter horse. And that was real hard, of course, for those of you who understand these things. And now we had Brookie, and I'd sort of been mostly in charge of training Brookie. As you can see, that's why she doesn't obey the neck rein cues that she's supposed to obey, but wants to get back over to, okay, Brookie. Now I have to pull on her here, which I don't like to do. This is called being a little barn sour. She needs to get her head in the game and do what I tell her to do, but she knows I'm a little distracted. Horses can tell that and try to take advantage of it if you're not paying attention. So now Brookie was here, kind of green broke, the two of us, but she was by herself, and of course she missed her Big Head just as much as we miss him. And that's when my wife started looking around and found this really interesting donkey rescue place called Long Hopes here in Colorado, and began talking to me about, why don't we get a donkey? And I was, of course, no, we're not going to get a donkey, just like I was, yeah, you can take horseback riding lessons, but you can't get a horse. And the next thing you know, we adopted Norman. That's that guy you see in some of these pictures from Long Hopes. Rescued him from becoming dog food in a Canadian packing plant. And now he's Brookie's companion. Horses, again, don't like to be alone. Donkeys don't like to be alone. They're both herd animals. But they just love each other to pieces. Get along great, annoy each other, pester each other. The good thing, at least for me, about having a donkey is I don't have to break him to ride or take any of those extra steps that you would want to take if you had a horse. I guess the moral to this story is this. Be careful what happens, because having horses is like eating peanuts, and it's tough, real tough, to just eat one.